Go ahead
Bring
and
up
give it a
James then.
second though. Yeah, totally. Yeah, whatever. I guess we're already live, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
go for it. No, it's all
Hey,
good.
hey,
That was
hey, guys.
perfect timing.
I'm sorry, but hey, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I have one of my best friends with me. I have with me Matthew Mournian. He's one of the best people I say in tarot. Honestly, he's one of my favorite people to have on to pull tarot. But like we've been doing this thing lately. I don't know if you guys saw. I mean, like if you tuned into our shows before, you probably saw where we kind of just like shoot the shit for the first hour, and we'll kind of go wherever with the conversation. And there's a lot to talk about. You know, a lot of people pass in our community, and you saw I've been covering it a lot with James, but like we haven't got Matthew's opinion on the whole James thing yet. So we'll get in on that definitely. And other weird news, and then we'll transition into tarot and a little bit more about my guest. Matthew Mournian is a multidimensional healer, a clairvoyant intuitive, and a timeline specialist known for his ability to help others reconnect with their higher identity and mission. As the creator of Remember Your Mission, Matthew blends clairvoyant energetic surgery, past life access, entity removal, and intuitive mentorship to guide others through profound spiritual transformation. He specializes in multidimensional energy clearing, third eye and heart activation work, entity removal and timeline repair, past life retrieval and mission memory, psychic development and intuitive training, and tarot. And he's a returning favorite on the show. His live readings frequently go deep into all kinds of things. And that was a bunch. The rest of what I had here was something the AI wrote, and I don't like it. I don't really like it, so I'm not going
to
run.
I'm like, hell yeah! Thank you, Chat THC. I love you. That was beautiful. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. But thanks, Matt, for coming back on, man. How are you?
Very, very good. Thank you for having me. I guess we are knee deep in what we might call the winter season, or is it still fall, or maybe winter begins, I guess, technically in middle of December, but it feels like winter to me. I have very low cold weather experience, so if it dips like below like 62 Fahrenheit, to me it feels like winter. So I'm like, I'm officially freezing, but which like a lot of other people will laugh instantly, like, huh. But anyway, honestly, life is good at the moment. We've been doing a little bit of a read through of my book over in the YouTube realm, which seems to be going well. People are, this is a very turbulent time for a lot of people in terms of like just emotional development and like internal just stuff right now. And then we have, a wave of people passing. So anyway, before I start going on a rant, it's like a highly packed period in like whatever cycle we're in right now. So anyway, yeah, thank you for having me. And what's up, everybody in the chat?
Yeah. You mentioned the cold. It's like 20 degrees here in Pittsburgh. And what's funny is this studio doesn't get like warm. Like in the winter, it's cold. And then in the summer, it gets hot in here. So it's like I got to dress warmer in the winter. And like I have a space heater. I have extra blankets. I have everything. Wow. You know what I mean?
I would have no idea how to live. Like I am such a desert person. Like, dude, 20 degrees to me is like, holy shit, I'll die. I'll probably die, everybody out there, just so you know. So don't ever take anything. I can never, ever go to Canada, definitely, because I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other story altogether.
But you lived in like warm climates your whole life. You're from California, then you lived in like Florida and Texas, right? Like,
originally from Southern California, which, everyone will be like, but I'm like, yeah, dude, Southern California, right? But which, so I grew up, in an area that rains like maybe like one time per year. So I was just kind of like a desert dweller forever until we moved to Florida. And I will say openly, I loved Florida. It was a beautiful place to live. We stayed there for about 4 years. Earlier this year in July, we moved to Austin, Texas. But I don't think Florida loved me, to be really, really honest with you. I noticed I had nothing but health issues when I lived in Florida. And I've heard of other people experiencing that. I think for me, it was an experience in really, really profound mold exposure, because I began to develop all of the symptoms of it. I still have some of them because it takes a while for things to work out of the body. But in looking back on that, it was just like I had a very difficult time there health wise. And then now we're here in Austin, Texas, and it's chill. It's very chill.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then I guess the elephant behind the big news is like, and this is like, because I know you've been, is James, right? It's like and I guess like people heard me when we went live. I asked you if you wanted me to talk, but I don't know if some people don't want to talk about, you know what I mean? Like, so I try to ask people beforehand.
I
like,
can be really honest about it. And I'm not even from some sort of theorizing perspective of, this is what happened, nothing like that. I can say that it definitely hit me. It was a very, very deep shock. However, it's always interesting after a person dies. It's sort of like okay to say certain things that we wouldn't normally say, good or bad, right? Right. Things that we wouldn't talk about normally. And I think that kind of comes with the territory for a lot of us. And what I can say now is that I recall working with James Rink on a professional level back in 2023, as far back as 2022, actually. And in 2023, we actually had discussed the very things that he ended up experiencing that led to his death, which at the time was something that was going on with his thyroid. And so I think it was a well-established, thing. It was well known that he had a lot of health, stuff going on. But from a personal perspective, he was a person that, when I look back on my experience with him in this life, I felt respected by him in a way that I didn't receive from a lot of other people in the so-called secret space program world. He was a person that I think gave an equal amount of airtime to a lot of people. And I think that he was just a person that, when I look back at my experiences with him, I believe him to be authentic in his claims as a person that worked with, what we might call the energetic anatomy of certain people. He definitely fit in with what I understand as a person that's experienced real multidimensional anomalous trauma. And, not to go into all the details on that, but, people that really experience the thick of such things do tend to live at times very short lives. It's not to say that it's guaranteed, but you know what I mean? In some ways, I think it comes with the territory, and you'll see that with a lot of the authentic people. You know what I mean? They come and go under strange circumstances from this world. But anyway, there's not a whole hell of a lot that I can go on to, that I feel really even needs to be said. I know a lot of people talk about, oh, he was targeted by this or that. And, maybe I think to say no or to say, that's not possible because, some people believe this, other people believe that. I'm at the stage now where it's like I really am trying not to deny anyone's version of like reality, which is a hard thing to do because some of them sound literally insane. So I just kind of like take it as it comes. And I will say one thing. I'll say this for anyone
Sorry.
Nice. Somebody got $200. I will say this, and then I'll kind of leave the topic after this. From a perspective of what we might call a professional psychic that, maybe worked with a lot of people, good or bad, right or wrong. If there's one thing I believe in my heart of hearts is that there is this buffer period that occurs when a person leaves this world. And oftentimes people that jump into channeling a very, very recently passed on person, I'm just going to say this. I said it in our Patreon meeting as well. Those are false. And if you're one of the people in this community that's learning to build discernment and learning to develop your intuitive abilities, that's a really good moment to feel into and to dive into the energy and the words that come forward. Because based upon my experience and many other people that are far outside of the secret space realm, because honestly, you guys, this is a very small niche in, the world of psychic work and multidimensional healing. It's a very, very small niche, but we're trained for a lot of us in that soul group to believe and to, stay so contained within it that we get stuck in it. And when you branch outside and look at the rest of the world of like professional intuitives, it's widely known that it's like they're not immediately available. And if they are, they're not chatting and talking about programs and governments and what killed them. If anything, they're going to be connecting with their family members, and they're going to be going through their own, like life review process, which does have a time period in this earth plane. So it's like when you guys see these channelers that come on and they dive into, oh, they're here, oh, and you're like, damn, dude just died yesterday and now he's going on Rob's show. I'm not saying that you have that, but you know what I mean? It's like, damn, you just died and here you are. That's a really good time for people to feel into it. And I'll just say it straight up. Those are clout chasers, and most of them are full of shit. I don't care how cool they are or how many followers they have or what cool dude paid them to say what. You know what I mean? It's not real. And what you'll find is that later on, when people really do pass and they have a message for you, or they have a message for like a community per se, it's not going to come through in a public forum. Where does it come through? It comes through within your own internal world, within your dreams, within your meditations, within your memories. Just like how a lot of people, when a family member dies, I had this with people in my family, you'll have this dream or you'll have this experience or you'll suddenly have this vivid memory of them. And that's the ways in which they're going to connect with you. It's not going to be through an official channeling. You know what I mean? So I will leave it there, but I think that the people that watch this channel will be able to understand that, and they'll be able to build their own processes of intuitive discernment by really noticing those details. And anyway, I'll stop there.
Yeah, I made sure, like, me, I have anybody on the show, and like, yeah. I wasn't even trying to get into that. Like, I was not going to have anybody come on and like, because I feel like in a way it's almost like disrespectful, because I feel like I agree with you. I don't think they can be contacted. Like, even like Selena wrote in the comments, she wrote, they said they're in like a life, she thinks they're in a life review for 7 days. So like, I don't know if there's anybody to know for sure, but like that probably is true to a certain degree. So it's like,
there's one thing I can tell you, and I know that you guys are going to love this one, because every single professional psychic is like, I know, let me just tell you, I'm just going to tell you what happens after you die. The reality is every single person goes through an individual experience. So it's like when one so-called expert says, here's how it really is, please take it with a grain of salt. For those with real discernment, that would even apply to what I am saying right now, because this is the other side of it, everybody. We're living in a time on Earth. This is a real thing. We're living in a time on Earth in which literally anything is possible at this stage. We've seen it over and over and over again. So the reality is there's also a timeline in which maybe, they're chomping at the bit. They pass on and they're like, here we go. I'm ready to give a transmission from the Galactic Federation. I've finally learned all the secrets of the universe. So the reality is it's also possible. You know what I mean? And so anyway,
yeah,
I don't want to go too far. Somebody will get mad, but people are going to do these channelings. And here's the kicker about it. People will think that I'm the person that'll tune off and be like, screw that guy. Actually, no, I'll sit there and listen to it. You know what I mean? Take the good part, take whatever feels relevant to you, use your discernment. People are going to naturally do that, because I think people also have, a need to like connect with something in a time of loss, and they want to feel something and they want to feel connected, and they, people want to be of service. To me, that's a good thing. The ones that worry me are the ones that, it's like for clout. And unfortunately, we're in a timeline right now where there's a lot of clout chasing performative psychics. You guys will know them when they show up. But anyway, I'm not here to call anyone out. I don't even have anybody in mind to call out. So I'll leave it there, though.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I mean, have you heard anything like crazy news? Like, I know you scroll the internet for some cool stuff. Like, have you heard any like crazy conspiracies or anything just like off the wall that you're like, what the fuck? Like,
what's weird is there was something specific. You guys are gonna hate this, where I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about, and then I'm like sitting here right now and I'm like, oh yeah, so what was that? What was that thing we were gonna discuss? Honestly, not off the top of my head. I should have written it down. So to be honest with you, I haven't really been paying attention over the past couple of weeks, and I'll also admit this to everyone out there. You guys will notice that this happens, especially for people, whether you know it or not, that are really tuned into the waves of energy. You're going to go through these like expansion, contraction phases where it's like for a time you're going to digest and be a part of everything that shows up, and then you're going to kind of go back the other direction and like go into hibernation mode. I've just noticed for the past couple of weeks I have been in like weird hibernation mode, and I have also been in somewhat of like a phase of recollection, kind of mainly due to AI stuff. And I actually do have a little bit of a thing that I kind of wanted to talk about. It's more of a story, less of a conspiracy thing, if it's all right.
That's
It
cool.
kind of it kind of goes along with what we would call the crazy AI wave, because I will actually tell you why. I will tell you why, because recently at the recommendation of one of our friends, they were like, you should use that AI clip thing, where it cuts. Actually, you had told me about it too, the Opus AI, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, whatever. I was like, sure, whatever, because I'm gonna be real, everyone. I'm one of those people, I can't stand hearing my own voice or looking at myself on camera.
I'm the
Even
same way.
even when I do Patreon meetings, I will literally put the chat in front of my face. And somehow I feel way more comfortable if I just don't connect, in that sense, which isn't a good thing. You guys can analyze that all you want. But I gave up, and I actually use it, and it seems to be working. And it just kind of opened up my thoughts to, the process of kind of how I got to see some of the early seedings of really bizarre AI infrastructure. Check this out. It sounds like ancient history now, as far back as literally 2020. And there's a story that I wanted to tell about. I think it's safe to tell it now because I don't think there's any way these people can ever find this video. They're in a whole other world. I'm not going to give away any personal data. I'll describe it in a general fashion, but I was approached in 2020 by a very wealthy family, and nobody that anyone here would know, nobody famous, just really like super billionaire type people. You know what I mean? Due to their own businesses, not fame, not public. And it was initially this the woman, like the mother, the wife of the family, and she had approached me to kind of look into this experience that she had had with her daughter, where they were staying on one of their properties. I think it might have been in Hawaii, maybe just some beachfront property, it doesn't matter where. And they had an experience where she had did one of those, I thought it was a dream. And what happened was they woke up at about 4 a.m, standing, I think, knee deep on the beach, her and her daughter, watching this really bizarre light come out of the water and move away for, like basically a ship. Basically, she had a contact experience physically in the body, not a dream. And the way we knew it wasn't a dream was because, she said her entire room was covered with sand, and then their beds, there was sand, and there was a literal trail into their room, from whatever this experience was. And that's all well and good. It was sort of what I would call like a generally, benign contact experience that felt very, very authentic. It was just one of those ones where you're like, yeah, totally, dude, you had a real experience. Congratulations. It's a beautiful thing. And, I thought that was it. And then about, I would say like a week later, her husband booked a session with me. And I didn't know it was her husband. It was just some dude, just some guy comes in. I'm not really that good. I don't research people that book with me. It was just like a name. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for everyone out there, anyone that does this work. Maybe they look into their clients. I'm like, who? Okay, next, or that was the stage I was at. I was just like, next one, here we go. It was a very busy year. And so this guy booked, and he was like, you saw my wife not too long ago. She had such and such experience. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Great. I'm glad it helped. And he was like, I have a different question for you. And I was like, all right. He's like, I have a project that I'm working with. And check it out, you guys. This was in 2020. This was pre-COVID. Holy shit. This is not 2019, to be very specific. This was right before COVID. So this is like ancient history now. And he was working on a project with an entire VR AI created education system from K through 12. So an entire cycle of education. It was a system that would be conducted in VR by this AI that they were developing that was just trained to teach kids. And he didn't have any sort of, backing in the US. And check this out, you guys. This is what he had done. He was able to get a village in Africa to agree to be test subjects for his VR AI system. And he had to, check this out. It sucks that I'm talking about this, but I'm going to talk about it. He told me how he had to bribe a congressman. He had to bribe a congressman to somehow get the contacts or the ability to do this whatever AI project was in Africa, to make the connections. He bribed this congressman. He got the connections to start this AI education thing. And he claimed that he had gone so far as to hire John Travolta to do the cord cutting ceremony and to be a part of a promotional film that they were making to promote this AI education system, right? And I was like,
Holy,
this was 2019. I was just like, what the fuck? Oh, what? Like, damn. I'm going to be real, you guys. This was so pre Chat GPT that I felt kind of weird. And I was like, damn, oh, no, man. We were like knee deep into AI's only evil at that stage, right? No one knew what the hell we were talking about. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'll just straight up do your reading, man. Totally. We talked obviously it was a whole hour we spent together talking about his plans. And I was like, really? Damn. I was literally doing that with him. Like, whoa, really? You got John Travolta? He's like, yeah. He's a great friend of mine. We worked on this thing and we worked on such and such together. And he's going to do the cord cutting. And I was like, whoa, this is real. You're really, really going to do this. And so the reading that he wanted was like, how's it going to go? Was this good, bad? What's up with it? And here's the kicker. The reading was really good. It was like one of those ones where you can't lie. It's like, really, I was like, look, man, I'm not going to lie to you, man. Like this looks good. You have full approval. Based upon what you're presenting to me here today, the energy that shows up and the cards that come forward, what shows up here today. Yes, it looks like you have a go on this thing. And that was the last I ever heard of him. And who knows whatever happened. But this is why I'm telling the story, because I was talking with Honora this morning, and she was talking about how she read some article or watched a video or something like that. And it was about these two high schools. And in one high school, these kids did this program where they traveled to 4 countries every year. It sounds like some high price shit, right? And the other high school, they did this thing where their whole entire education was taught to them through an AI.
wow.
And so, as you would imagine, the ones that got taught by AI had like way higher test scores, way more information. I don't actually know how the other side went. I didn't, I forgot to follow through on that much of the story with her. But so I guess it was a precursor to something that was really, really about to happen. And honestly, I thought about it for like honestly, I'll just be real, for like a couple of years, like up until now, when I'm willing to tell the story now. It's been like 5 years. So I'm like, I think I can talk about it. I don't even remember their names, but so,
dude, that's so crazy though. Like, did he actually that's wild.
Now it's almost seems like a normalcy thing, right? Like an eventuality. I could go one step further, and I'm going to tell this one in a very gentle manner, because I do believe that this person is still alive. But shortly after that experience, and this was also pre-COVID, which is wild to think this is this long ago. It's probably some stuff I'll write about in a future book. I was brought in to work with a person who at that time was supposedly dying. I won't give too much of their info out. They were just dying. Let's just say they were dying. And I worked with this person for 2 years straight. And I'm going to be real. I don't think they were dying. Because they seem to be getting better and worse. But this person's partner, this is the important thing. And once again, this is pre-chat GPT, that at this stage nobody was talking with any AI. There was no chat bots. It was none of that. This was like pre-COVID shit, you guys. So, and this person's partner also booked a reading with me to check this out. It was an AI that he was creating, this sort of AI whatever program, and he was shopping it to these think tanks in the UK and like Europe. He was taking it around to various organizations and trying to sell them this AI that he had purchased. But the crazy thing about it was, and this is going to sound kind of like weird and bizarre to some people, or to other people it'll sound normal, it was kind of taking over his entire life. Nowadays we're like, well, yeah, of course it does. But at that time it was like, I saw him a few times over a period of that year, and he was like physically degrading, becoming consumed literally with this whatever he was creating in his literal garage in France, mind you, in
Holy
France of all places. And there was even this one particular session where his partner, he was talking with me about this AI, and he had a hard time talking about it. And at the time I couldn't figure out, like, why is this so scary? I didn't have a basis for any comparison like we do now. There was no chatbots. There was none of that stuff was out, so I didn't have an understanding of what he was even talking about. I remember trying to get him to explain and like expand, and I was like, so what's so crazy about it, man? Like, trying to probe him, which I don't really do in sessions. I don't really try to dig in on people too hard, but I was like, damn it, I want to know, what is it? You know what I mean? And it was like he wouldn't really talk about it, but he claimed that it was like a real living being. And check this out, this was the funnest part about it. Right in the middle of that moment, his partner busted into his session, just like we were here in imagine a Zoom meeting. They come in right here, boom, and she goes, and Matthew, he's scared shitless of it. And the guy's just sitting there like, and it, dude, I swear I put a Bible on everything in this world, and I was like, this is for real. You're really like this has gotten complete hold over your life. And anyway, I don't need to go into any more of the details, because who knows, they might actually they could actually watch this show. But it was just like the early fledgling days of that stuff, and it's just wild to see where we are now. And anyway, that was a couple of my early AI encounters.
Man, that's crazy. It's crazy to see that AI was taking over people's lives then, and you can imagine now, like people are probably like fully like
Yeah.
like just totally taken. Some people might be totally like like fully into that.
Yeah.
It's scary. I don't know.
It's a fun thing. Anyway, yeah. There's so, God, it's so hard because there's so much more I want to say about that stuff, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, I'm gonna wait till it goes into print and make sure I don't violate anyone's confidence in the wrong ways, which honestly I think is very important.
With the amount of readings that you and your wife have done, you guys have done a lot of readings. I bet you've heard some pretty insane stuff, though, right? I mean, I know you can't.
Oh yeah. Well, some things I can talk about. I have had people snap into literal states of what I would call somewhat possession or walk-in states. Maybe I wouldn't say altars, because I know this person and I'd worked with them over a period of years. There was this one time where this lady, and she was kind of opening the door by channeling a lot, and there was a lot of plant medicine stuff going on at the same time, which is a wonderful combination for dissociative states and anomalous trauma, just so you know, but everyone knows that. But man, I'll tell you, I think Enora's watching. She has an idea of who I'm about to talk about. I had this lady one time turn into this being called the Chief. And I was like, what? The Chief, dude? Like, for real? Like and she would do these channelings in sessions where it was like this being would or this energy would come in, and she would like and start like turning into this crazy thing and doing a lot of emoting. And For some people, at times, that sort of activity is a very natural and therapeutic element of what some people call parts work in piecing back together fractured, broken pieces of self. And in other cases, it's part of a practice in which people might open themselves up to, like, different types of, in this case, I think it was an actual spirit. But right in the middle of this woman's session, we're having this conversation and she starts to, like, like doing this, like they're winding up, and yes,
Holy shit.
it was kind of funny. And I remember just sitting there going, okay. And she's like, I am the chief, and at the top of her lungs, like screaming, like literally with fists balled up, I am the chief, you will do what I say.
Holy
You
shit.
do as I command, like literally screaming at the top of her lungs, like hitting the table, and the camera's like moving around.
Oh my God.
They're going like, okay, the chief, all right, okay. And the chief, all right, chief, what is it that you need? It was almost like, what do you need, chief? Like in a weird way. And eventually, it kind of passes and they sort of move out of it, and it's a state that rolls through. But I've had that experience with a lot of people, where some sort of a being will show up, or in some cases in an altar, so to speak. I'll just tell one other quick one, if it's all right.
Yeah.
Let me give you some readings. For a lot of you guys know, there was this time when I worked at a physical shop out in Los Angeles. It was like I look at it like a 2-year training process I had to go through, where I was just face to face with everybody, And I remember, like, I would open the store some days, so I would show up at like 9:30 and just sit in the back and drink coffee and chill, And I was there about 9:30 in the morning one day, and this really young kid came over from the other location. And I can tell you his real name. His real name was Bryce. And he was the total quintessential young, mystical, gay kid, very blonde, very effeminate, very attractive, just the whole Hollywood package, you know what I mean? Perfect, spiritual vocabulary and all the right ascension terms. And the reality is, he was a really nice guy. He was just one of those people where, like, I realize most of you is manufactured by YouTube, but you're a genuinely kind person, and I'm okay with that. And one day he showed up at that store at 9:30 in the morning, like knocking on the glass. And I was like, what the hell? What's this guy doing here? Damn, bro. Like, what? You don't even work at this store. You work at the other store. And he's like, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, all right, sure. Cool. Yeah. Come on in. Cool, yeah, whatever. So we go in the back, and, he'd even poured himself some coffee, and we're sitting at this little mini table in this super dingy little reading room. You guys can imagine there's literal cobwebs in all the corners, and like heavy dust from like 10 years of incense on everything. For those that know, they'll be like, yeah, it's like a lot of residue, a lot of fucking filth, right? Like, for real, like real life filth, dude. There's so much I could say about that place. And he comes in the back, and he's holding those little cups, little cup of coffee, and he's sitting there, and I'm just like, what's up, whatever. And not even in an awkward way, not in one of those like, what the hell are you doing here? It's like, what's up, bro? What's happening? And he does this thing where he's like, this is almost his exact words. He was like, there's just something that needs to come out of me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, go ahead. And that's when he suddenly starts to do this thing where it might have been performance, everyone. I want to say that because we're in the heart of Hollywood. Okay. So this is like performance central. Literally everything's a performance there. Okay. There's also a lot of really weird, dark shit. And this kid sitting in front of me, probably like 22, 23 years old. And he starts to do this thing where he contorts, and he goes, this is going to look so dumb for everyone. He goes, he does this high voice, he's like, yeah, hello. And he's like trying to speak through this crazy like voice, and he just keeps going, yeah. he's like writhing in this chair in front of me, and I was sitting there just going like, okay, all right. Like, I mean, I shit you not, I'm sitting there just like, okay, all right. And this kid's like writhing, and he kept literally going, yes, yes, and he's like twisting, and I'm like, do you have a message? Is there something that you want to say? Like, go ahead, it's okay. You know, I'm like trying to like comfort him and be like, yes, it's okay. Do you have a name? Like, what do you have to say? I wish that he did, but he just sat there for a few minutes and just did this crazy voice and just writhed and sort of twisted in his chair and just kept going, yes, yes, in this way that after, honestly, here's the crazy thing about it. After like 30 seconds, and they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and then you realize and you look at their eyes and you're like, okay, this is maybe a thing you can't even control now. And you're kind of locked in this, just whatever you're doing. And I just sat there and observed it. And honestly, I think that's the only thing I could do. There was no like, okay, you know, I cast you out. There was no like power of Christ compels you. It was not that moment. It was what I believe in my heart of hearts, one of those moments in which a person had been opening themselves up over and over and over and over again, engaging in certain things, practices, and like one day the door really opens and they don't know how to react and they didn't know what to do. And I guess so for some reason he went to the other store and had this weird moment in front of me. And, you know, eventually he kind of calmed down. I wish, you know, my memory was better. I know we had talked about something afterward. And I think that he felt, from what I recall, I might have him mixed up with someone else, but he was actually living at the other store that they had. They had two locations, one that I worked at and another store, which I wrote about in my book, which was a haven for real life demonic entities, like the real version of it, not the Exorcist movie version of it, like the real version of it. So he was actually living in that place. Anyway, the end of the story, the reason why I'm telling this and why I think it was real was because a couple of days after that, he just bounced. He moved away. He went back home to his family in wherever, Oklahoma, and literally left the whole city, left the state. You know what I mean? Whatever it was like something opened so far in him, and he was like, nope. You know, like, so anyway.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
people turn into weird shit. Yeah.
Did you see a lot of that kind of stuff like that when you worked at that place in Hollywood? Was it like a lot of weird stuff or like?
Oh man, yeah, totally. There was a time when, man, I guess I could tell a little bit of this. There was a woman that came through there. I don't remember this person's name. I have very little details on them. They came actually a couple times to see me, and they claimed to be a producer for Netflix. And I was like, okay, are you telling me that to impress me? Whatever. But the reality is the store that I worked at was very close to the Netflix headquarters. So it made sense. There was a lot of like actors that came through and just people. And I'm famously anti-celebrity. So anytime a famous person came in, I'd be like, yeah, well, anyway, I'm just going to go get some coffee. Fuck this. I would literally just leave. But like so many famous people came into that store, which, you know, anyway, that's a whole other topic. But anyway, this lady came in, and I remember her telling me straight up, she was like, I have the spirit of a leopard inside me, or some kind of lion or tiger. I don't know what it was, puma, whatever. Insert your favorite big cat here. And I remember being like, okay, cool. Yeah, sure. Whatever. And she was like, no, really. And sometimes it comes out, you know, like if you do Reiki on me, it might come out. And I remember specifically telling her, I'm like, I don't do Reiki. So don't worry about it. We'll just do a clearing. You know what I mean? And it was during the time when I was physically there with people. And she actually did. Oh gosh, she actually turned into like a literal animal in front of me. And it was one of the most bizarre and sort of childlike and authentically animalistic displays of some sort of like, I don't know what it was, but she literally started hissing. She literally started like grabbing onto like the table and like putting her claws in and doing this like this like crazy, like like literal
Holy
hissing thing.
shit.
I swear on everything in this world. And I was just sitting there going, okay, all right, okay. Once again, maybe that's why I got brought so much bizarre stuff, because at least I had gotten down the ability to not react, where I would be like, okay, let's just stand right here and not show any emotion and just observe this thing. You know what I mean?
I
And
don't know how you did that.
man, I
Yeah, that's
remember she
crazy.
foamed at the mouth, all kinds of stuff. Man,
What?
dude, I swear to you, it was like people would turn into something else. I think she was actually the person where she became so open that I realized that she had this crown chakra opening that was so profound that I accidentally would move my hand and her whole body would move with it while her eyes were closed. Meaning that, imagine holding your hand above someone's head like a puppet string, and when I move my hand, their head goes back. And when you move your hand forward, their head would go with it. And that was an accidental discovery where I was like, what? Oh, shit. I almost felt weird and guilty kind of moving her in a sense, because I was like, is this actually real? Is this actually real? And so, anyway, I remember the last encounter I had with this person, she actually asked to do a Reiki treatment on me. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. And that was sort of the end of it. But yeah, she was a real
Wow.
maybe like a cougar. Is that a real life cougar? Maybe it was. She was a little older than me. So
That's hilarious, though. I mean, that's like, man, that's crazy. That, like, I can't even imagine what that would have been like. I bet you it's exciting, though. Every day was probably a new adventure, kind of, in a way, right?
it definitely was. It honestly really was. I noticed somebody in there mentioned the James Franco story. There is kind of a James Franco story. We can get into that if you want. I don't want to take up too much time because we're going to do
Let's see how long
readings.
we've been. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, because we definitely want to.
Maybe we'll
we
save
can
it
go
for another time. That'll give you something to look forward to.
Yeah, we can do it on the next. I mean,
we
we'll
will
probably
talk
do one
about
soon.
it on the next episode. But yeah, anyway, there's a bunch of weird stuff. There was also, I guess, there was the personal assistant to, it wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal. It was another person, one of those other famous, boy toy celebrity people that I saw a couple times. Man, I'm trying to think of who it was. It doesn't matter. We will discuss that at a
Wait,
later date.
I think Selena's gonna get mad at me if we don't hear the story. She says she
It's
loves
so
James Franco. She says she wants to hear the story. Can we hear the story?
okay. So first of all, I'd never met James Franco. Let me tell you this. I actually thought he was a cool actor. But there I was sitting there at this shop one day, like literally just one afternoon. And I'm going to be real. There's times where it would be slow and I would be like, guys, I'm going to take a break. And I would just walk around the block and get really high and just like drink coffee and just be stoned at work and like, yeah, it's cool, and just chill in this chair. And one day this girl came in and she was very much like a very all-American blonde, kind of, glamorous, young, sort of wholesome looking actress girl. You know what I mean? Not one of those like, not so worldly, much more, kind of like the good, like, the really nice girl actress, one of
Yeah,
those people came in. She was very kind. And she just had questions. And I was like, yeah, maybe I can answer for it. And she was like, I had a really weird experience right down the street from here. And from what I recall, it was a few months prior to our meeting. And she claimed that she was, okay, here we go. There was a vegan restaurant next door, a vegan, like Vietnamese restaurant next door. And she was eating at the Vietnamese restaurant next door. And she noticed down the street was James Franco standing in front of this place. So her and her friend went over to meet James Franco, and he had all these people with him or something. And she said that when she shook his hand, she heard a voice inside her head, and she saw a vision inside her mind that was of this very old man. And he was extremely withered and like almost dead. She said she was like a dead, withered old man. And when she touched his hand, she heard these specific words. I remember it specifically. He was like, "That's right. I'm a fucking movie star." And she even said it like that. Like that was literally the way she said it. And I was like, wow,
That's
weird.
weird.
You know, I'm like, whoa, weird. And she was like, and then I didn't sleep for, what was it, like 2 or 3 weeks. After that moment, I wandered Los Angeles for days. Her family had to come find her. They had to pick her up off the streets and put her in some form of hospitalization. The entire time, she explained that she was now in a relationship with this guy in her head, and that guy was actually James Franco, that James Franco was not an actual person, that he had been replaced with some sort of an entity or a spirit that had presented himself to her. She didn't know that at the time. That was what we discussed, and that was the understanding that we came up with in her telling the story. But during that period, she said that he would talk in her head. They would have conversations constantly. They would have sex, all kinds of stuff, that he had the ability to like autopilot her body and make her do stuff. And like, it was crazy. And so she had been in this full on kind of schizoid, like fractured relationship with an entity that she claimed was living inside James Franco. I'm giving you the super short, smooth version of
Holy
it.
shit.
And it went on for months, dude. It took over her entire life. Like I said, she was hospitalized. And at the time that she was telling me the story, this was after all of these things had taken place. And I remember asking her, like, how are you doing with it now? And dude, straight up, she's like, yeah, we still do talk. We still talk, not that much, but he shows up, like we talk. And I'm like, damn, you're still talking, you're still connecting with this thing. And the whole kicker was, I was like, so do you want to do some clearing work? Do you want to try to break the bond? Do you want to try to sever this tie? It feels like it's really, and she was like, no, I just want to know if it was real, and I was like, okay, like, honestly, I think it was. Because, like we hear all the stories about the, like, the sort of quote unquote, like Illuminati induction process. And like a lot of people saw the period, I'm so like anti-celebrity, but I remember all the pictures of James Franco with Marina Abramovich and the whole, like the sort of mentor phase that he had done with her. And I know, because I went back and looked it up after I'd had this conversation with her. You guys can find out all about that on your own time. But it actually made me believe it. I was like, yeah, I think there is something that was placed in this person. And anyway, I'll stop there.
Wait, I didn't know about that. James Franco did a mentorship with Marina Abramovich, the spirit
I
cooking lady.
I wouldn't call it a mentorship. I know that there's comments on there. There was a one website specifically, which could just be bullshit. It could just be bullshit. It was just one of those like Illuminati insider, pages that you'll see go by every once in a while. And it was talking about, back at the after the post spirit cooking era, about how she worked with, specific people in Hollywood. It was back when they showed her with Jay-Z and all those people. And there was a bunch of pictures of her with James Franco. And it was like, just that whole thing. And so I assumed, this was my assumption, just based on what I saw in, TMZ style bullshit Hollywood, whatever, which could be all fake, obviously, right? Could all be fake. That was what I surmised through my, surface level keyboard warrior investigation from some dingy room in, Hollywood. But I do believe it to be real. I absolutely do. A lot of people talk about that process where, like an entity is permanently brought in. Oh man, sorry to keep going on this, but I also had that experience with a person who was a personal assistant for those of you guys out there that remember the band The Smiths.
I remember the
Morrissey.
Smiths. Oh hell yeah,
The
and Morrissey, yeah.
Morrissey. Check this out. Some of you guys will know Johnny Marr, the guitar player from the Smiths, which, I'll be real, he was one of my absolute heroes as a teenager. I literally emulate. I was like, I'll just say it. I was one of those Smiths fags. You know what I mean? I was so into it. I mean, no, for real. I was so into that. I had a profound Morrissey and Smith stage.
I loved that. I liked him when I was young too.
I was way into Johnny Marr, man. And lo and behold, this lady starts coming in for sessions, and she's like, yeah, I work with a really famous person, and he's really weird. And he says that he has a being that's attached, literally straight up says he made a deal, and he has this energy attached. She didn't say being, she said something like energy. And I was like, really? Wow. Okay. And I was like, who is it? She's like, well, it's probably nobody that you would know. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And, she wanted to get a reading on was it what it was. And it was real, because she had this attachment to him when she was working on some album that he was doing with his band, where they would talk till like 5 a.m. And just like that other girl, she felt like he was inside her head, and he knew everything that she wanted. And she would bring him stuff. And like, it was like before he would ask for it. And it was like they linked up in a really weird psychic way. And she thought he wanted to, fuck her, but they never did. And it was like this weird sort of cat and mouse fanciful kind of like relationship thing. And I remember being like, who is it? I mean, I genuinely wanted to know. And she was like, oh, you won't know. And I was like, well, can I just see a picture? I don't know, maybe. Because she wanted me to, look at his energy. And she pulls out this photo of Johnny Marr. And I'm like, what? But check it out. I played it off, and I was like, oh, huh. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, what the fuck? What? But yeah, she had talked about specifically how he had been a part of some Hollywood thing. He told her this story specifically, that he had been granted some connection or some sort of thing that was with him. And it had something to do with, like an agreement that he had made. There was more info, but, for the sake of time, we've done a lot with story time today. but yeah, man,
this was awesome, man. I loved it.
Gets weird.
I love this.
Really weird.
Let me see here. Yeah, because I guess we get started readings, guys. So, if you're new here, like what Matthew does is he does multidimensional tarot. You don't have to donate. If you want to donate, you can. The links are in the chat and in the description on how to donate, and I'll put them in there again. It's better if you do PayPal or something like that, or Cash App, but you can do super chats too. I'm monetized now. You can do that, whatever. Nice. And we got some people requested, and we just do reading, and it's fun, guys. If you want a reading, put your name in the chat. We already got some people who requested some, so I'll get to I guess Selena would be first, and then Crystal.
Okay, so, yeah, totally.
And Selena says, Selena. I love your stories.
Thanks. It's just that, oh my God, I could go on forever, dude. That's like 2 books in one, man. Oh my Lord.
You think you're going to write another book about it? Because I would,
I have to write a tarot book. I feel like I have one of those agreements that I made before I was born, where it's like, you have to do a tarot book. I know I have to do that next, and it won't take that long. I just need to begin. I need to restart the process rather. But anyway, let's do a reading for Selena. I heard you're chilling at home doing dabs right now. I saw it go by in the chat, which is very cool. I have low dab ability at this stage of my life. I don't know if I can handle it, but I want to handle it. Anyway, okay, yeah. Was there a question? Are we doing a general reading?
I think just general. Oh wait, let me see. I'll see what she sent. I'll see. She just says, "Oh, Jess." She says, "General, please." Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't think I could do dabs either. I would be blasted if I did a dab. I'd be out of. I
just think I would be nauseous, honestly. I think I would be nauseous more than anything. Like I seem to, you know what I mean? Like the tolerance is not the issue. It's like I noticed the last time I did dabs, I was just like in this nausea zone for like 4 hours where I was like, whoa, dude, like extreme, but anyway, that's a story for another time. So yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of a general reading for Selena.
I remember. Yeah, I was gonna say real quick. I remember when we were at the conference, people had like strong weed, because I remember us smoking weed, and like I remember sitting around noticing myself, and I'd be like frozen forward, and I'd be like, what the fuck? Why do my body keeps freezing? It was so embarrassing, man. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't have that big of a tolerance, I don't know. I just don't for some reason. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Anyway, we're going to do a reading for Selena. For those of you out there that are looking for a good method as I shuffle the cards here and prepare to do her reading, if you're looking for a good way to really learn to connect with people, I've mentioned this before, but one of the most tried and true methods that I use on a daily basis when connecting with other people's energy prior to a reading is we just take a breath in together. And so, Selena, you know exactly what we're going to do because you've done it with me before. And you'll hear this about 8 seconds after I do it, but just take a breath with me if you can in 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. Just hold it for a moment. And breathe it out. Good job. Thank you. The fun part is I guarantee you'll do that. It's like 8 to 10 seconds after. Anyway, here we go. We're going to pull a card for you. The reason why we do that is because it really helps you synchronize your energy field with another person. And it's a tried and true method of momentarily interfacing with a person's energy field for the purpose of measuring or testing or feeling what is present. From a really weird metaphorical perspective, you could think of it kind of like getting a whiff of somebody. You know, every once in a while you get a whiff of someone's breath and you're like, whoa, damn, you know what I mean? And every once in a while you will sense other things. And I'm saying that in somewhat of a humorous way, but also an authentic way. So when we're learning to connect with people's energy, rely upon the senses that you have and kind of bring them into an internal kind of framework. And it's going to show you so much. I do it every single day. I know that it works, but it's a thing you got to practice. And so anyway, we take a breath of a person's energy and we pull a card. What does she need to know right now? Boom. What's happening? You got a 2 of Cups. This is Lord. Okay, it's time to ask yourself some questions. Number one, I'll say this in a kind of a humorous and also serious way. Question number one, where is the love in my life right now? Who is it that supports me unconditionally? Who is it that's willing to look at me eye to eye and join me in certain acts and really be a part of an active union with me? Maybe they're here now. Maybe they're a person that's coming in. Maybe it's somebody from the past. Maybe it's just a benevolent relationship where you really connect with someone on a deep level. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be very close and very connected, and you're going to see eye to eye. And yet at the same time, it can also signal new unions and new beginnings and love and romance and intimacy and really just the sharing of your innermost desires and the many ways in which we connect in this world. Be mindful that it's not the fully formed version of it. When the 2 of Cups comes in, it's oftentimes a beginning, and it's something that sort of grows and takes form. But really right now you got to ask yourself, like, who is it that has been willing to meet me face to face, eye to eye? Where are those people in my life? Who am I willing to connect with on that level? And if I haven't been reciprocated in the way that I wanted, how can I demonstrate that to another person? How can I give to another person what was not given to me so that I can share that experience in my life in a new way? We could go really, really deep into the 2 of Cups, but ultimately it's about your innermost kind of closest relationships, how you create them, how they come into your life, and really, I would say, how much you're willing to receive and allow yourself to be known by other people. And so you got to really ask yourself that, like, who can I look in the eye? Who can I not look in the eye? And why? You know what I mean? And don't approach it from a negative perspective, because it's pretty hard to make 2 of Cups a negative time. It's meant to build and bond and like connect and experience intimacy. Sorry, I say that word weird. I always stutter when I say certain words, but to me, this is a good energy, Selena. Ask yourself those things, ponder them in your life right now. And anyway, we'll stop there. Boom. Thank you.
Wow, that was a great reading. That was. I hope that resonates with you. So I'm gonna see if she responded and see if she said anything.
Hopefully she's taking a dab, so you probably can't respond right now. Maybe you can be like that guy on that meme video where he's in the smoke shop and like he takes a dab and he falls over and knocks over all the all the display cases. Some of you guys have seen that. Some of you guys have seen that one.
That's hilarious. I kind of wanted to do this person because this is a new person. I don't know if he's from your chat, and I kind of this person, Tennis by Jordan. I've never seen him in here before, and I was like, well, maybe he'll want us. Oh, this is the wrong one. Sorry, where's he at? I saw him here somewhere. Man, this chat's jumping all over the place. Thanks for rating the stream.
What up?
Here he is. Yeah, thanks for rating the stream, Art Bell fan. That's cool on Rumble. But yeah, he's Tennis by Jordan.
Hell yeah.
You read me when you get a chance.
Hell yeah, we can. Let me know if there's any ARC raiders out there. Nobody will know, probably. There might be one.
What's an ARC raider?
Oh, sorry. I'll be real. It's just a video game that a lot of people are playing right now. It's just dumb shit. It's nothing. But anyway,
I don't know.
That's sort of like the other. That's like the other version of me. Is like a really weird gaming nerd. Oh, cool. She was doing a dab. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, bro. See if you can find that video on that one video on Twitter where it's like Unc almost falls out after he takes a hit. That's literally what it says. Unc falls out after he takes a hit, and the dude takes a dab, and he's like, and he like literally knocks over the whole store. Which maybe is the thing I would do. Maybe I'll do that here live on camera. Anyway, sorry. So this is for Tennis by Jordan. Totally. Do we have a question? If you're quick on the chat, my friend, you can insert a question, or we can just do a general one. We're gonna. I feel like we're gonna do a general one, so we can save time. So we're gonna pull a card for you. Tennis by Jordan. Let's pause for a moment. We're going to take a slow breath in together. You'll hear it 10 seconds after we do it. In 3, 2, 1, breathe in. Hold it for a moment, then release it. Work with your it's like right there, right on the edge of your energy. Sorry to make it weird. Work with your throat. There's so much more that you have to say and so much more that you have to share. There's a lot more truth that you can be conveying right now. And I would just say from a very, very generalistic perspective, because remember, this is just a reading on the YouTube live. Your body's going to show you what's true and you'll know in your own way. But you're in a good throat activation phase right now where if you're willing to really speak your truth and kind of refine your processes of communication, you're going to experience just either a lot more clarity or, this will sound fortune tellery. You're probably going to experience success in something right now where you're kind of struggling. And I'm not trying to say that you're struggling because you might be doing great. It might just be a place where you'll experience improvement. But I think the improvements that are coming for you right now seem to be coming at the cost of you altering, refining, and just improving or empowering the ways in which you communicate with other people in your life. Because it just feels like it's like a bubble of energy. I would say I feel very confident in that. But even that alone is a haphazard statement on a YouTube live stream. So you'll know if what I'm saying is true. That said, let me pull you a card. Here we go. Okay, guys, count down with me. Here it comes. We'll see it together live in the moment. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Whoa, look at that. Very different message. Tennis by Jordan, you have received a very interesting character, the 10 of Wands. Hopefully you can see it on your screen. It's a man, and he's gathering all these wands, and he's taking off down the street. And what does this mean for you? I'll keep it short. The 10 of Wands is what we would call a card or a symbol of neutral departure. Why do I say neutral? Because it's a neutral ending. Every time you see a 10 in the world of tarot, something's coming to a close, whether it's big or little in your life. It could be a chapter, it could be a project, it could be a relationship. It could also be you looking at certain things in your life and realizing, I think I'm just going to pick up my toys and take them over there and connect with these people. to, learn to basically diversify myself, to bring my tools into a new location. And so, not to go on and on about it, but I think when this shows up in a person's life, you have authorization to move on from something right now. Not to say that you need to, but that's a thing that's a thing that people will do in a 10 of wands type of scenario. You'll just kind of pick up and say, I'm done with this. So ask yourself, what are you letting go of? What are you closing out right now? I guess it's the end of the year, not to go on and on, but it's very neutral. You get to decide what you make of it, but closure is right for you. And I would also say opening of the throat. So we'll stop there. I hope it helps. Thank you.
I hope that resonates with you. And I hope you subscribe to Matthew's channel too on YouTube. Remember your mission. And
you
the next
can try. You might get unsubscribed.
Yeah, there's what's so interesting. I wanted to tell you, I forgot to tell you this. Liz Cross was on my show last night, and she told me that she thinks that like they're throttling her subscribers too, and not just that, but like they won't give her videos any views, and like it's a big issue. Like it's happening to me, it's happening to you, it's happening to her. It's weird. You think it's a psychic thing or something? I don't know.
Maybe it's a psychic thing. I mean, honestly, like at this stage, I know it's like that we have this tendency in a spiritual community to make everything bad, like a plot or like a conspiracy or a space war. And, a part of me gets annoyed at that. And another part of me sees it and I'm like, well, that's sort of a natural thing for humans to do. We have like a lot of externalization that we do. And so, I think it's normal. In the realm of YouTube, I do firmly believe there is just, there's a natural suppressive algorithm that comes in if you use the same words too much. It's, I know for me, really the reason why is because I do too much long form content. All of my videos are like 3 hours long. And what's weird is I just did some shorts and it already has like 1,000 views. So I'm like, what?
So maybe it is.
I mean? No, it is. It's just I need to change ultimately, which not to make it weird, extends into like most areas of most of our lives right now, mine included. It's like the changes are almost always things that we are called to make at this stage of the journey or this stage of the year. You know what I mean? And anyway, I could keep going, but let's do another reading. I hope that helps. Yeah. Jordan.
This next one, and by the way, before we get into the next one, it's just Crystal. Can Kiki Erica, if you're in the chat, can you put? I saw you donated. Can you put your name in the chat so I can pull you up next? You're next, and the next one is, but Crystal though, she's out. Erica goes, yeah, it'll be next, and then I don't think Crystal had a question. I think she just wanted a general.
Yeah, totally. What's up, Crystal? I hope all is going well out there at the elbow room. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Hope everything's going good at the elbow room. I'll just say it. I'm going to say it. Don't be mad at me, Crystal. Crystal has a really, really cool restaurant in California. Maybe if she wants, you can say it in the chat and maybe some people will come by there, but I don't want to put the pressure on you. But I only know it's cool, not because I've been there, because I saw her Instagram account and I saw the food they were making and I was like, whoa, wait, what? Wait, hold on, wait. What? Where you're like, where you're like, okay, like I'll definitely try that. So anyway, to me, that's a very, very cool thing. That takes so much, that takes a level of skill and dedication in this life that so few people have, especially if you can make it work for yourself. So anyway.
She said chilling at the Christmas parade at the Elbow Room in Monterey, California. She said, come by, guys. That's awesome.
Montrose, it looked like. Was that Montrose? California? Sorry. It went by so fast.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It said Montrose. I don't know why. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, I'm like, sometimes I don't know. Yeah. Thanks for catching
I feel you. I feel like I'm a little bit retarded at this stage of my life. We're allowed to say retarded on the internet now, you guys. Okay, seriously.
Yeah. Well, no, it's
How's
weird.
to
Like
say it,
people aren't retarded anymore. They're either have Down syndrome or they're
right?
autistic.
See,
Retard don't
exactly.
exist anymore. You know what I mean?
Elon Musk says it's okay to say retard now. So, okay, just
That dude is like that
deal
dude's
with it,
so
bro.
funny, man. I feel like
Deal with it.
it's so funny when he talks about his technology. You know what I mean? I feel
Is
like
he
it was
real?
a comedian said it sounds like he comes in his pants when he talks about his technology.
Yeah, I guess yeah. But honestly, I'll be honest. I sort of like Elon. I know everyone is like, thinking he's like,
An alien?
the harbinger of doom or, something like that. I do firmly believe that there are at least one or two, maybe more races of completely humanoid extraterrestrials that are well established on Earth. Which is funny to mention this, but that was something that I was notified of by a person when I actually worked at that shop that we were talking about. Not to, rewind too far,
Yeah.
but I did have a person come in and tell me straight up in the most matter of fact way that in the greater Los Angeles area, there was even a couple, what she called like apartment complexes or small buildings that were catered specifically to this specific humanoid ET race so that they could stay within their own vibration, because the vibration of like regular people was still a little bit hard for them to deal with. And they were well established. They, from what I believe, is that they were also part of a colony of humanoid ETs that lived in Northern California that had most of their land burned out during those big fires in the whatever the 2000, what was it, like the fires up in Paradise,
Yeah.
California. I think
Yeah.
that they were linked to those, but I have zero proof, and it was literally just a story that a very strange old person told me. I don't know why she told me that story, which is what's weird. I'm like, how did we even get on that topic? Sometimes I think that adds a little bit of credence to certain things. But
Yeah.
I remember there was a lot of theories about that. I remember even David Wilcock talked about that. And I actually think that was one of few areas where he was right. I actually do believe that to be true. But anyway, I'll stop there. We were going to do a reading for Holland Sass.
Crystal.
I'm sorry. I'm always going to do like a weird rant. Here we go.
I love it, man. Dude, you've been on fire tonight. Your stories are amazing. Like they really are. Like I love
Thanks.
it. I
It
could
feels it
all
feels
day.
silly and like embarrassing now, to be really honest with you. It's sort of like an act of self. It's like an act of self, like therapy, to talk about them, because there was so much weird shit that went down in the beginning of this journey. It was like movies could have been made about it. You know what I mean? Like literal fluid leaking out of people's ears and shit. Like so much weird stuff. People turning into animals. I mean, like the chief. The fucking chief. I had I'll be very careful on this one. I had a very popular secret space program person come in for a session, and they snapped into an altar and began speaking in a real world Eastern European language for a very long period of time. And it was just one of those things where you're like, we're just going to let this run its course. And it was it was a bizarre display, man. You see some strange things. But anyway, sorry, I'm overdoing the wind up here. This is for Holland Sass / Crystal. Anything she needs to see here today, just taking a slow breath in, no countdown needed. Here we go. We'll see it together in 3, 2, 1, and boom. Well. It's a rarely seen character, or I guess if you want to get technical, more of a situation. And Crystal, you have received I would say one of the fastest moving cards in the world of tarot. You got the 8 of Wands. And so some people out there would be like, okay, great, awesome. What's 8 of Wands? That sounds cool, fast moving. What are you talking about? Hopefully you guys can see on your screen that it's a bunch of wands and they're blasting through space. and there's some planets out there, and it looks like a very random scene. What does it actually mean? Eight of Wands is a symbol of rapid change. It's a time in your life, maybe a moment, maybe a situation, maybe an opportunity, but it's a time in which you will make a decision that's very much like pulling a trigger. You know what I mean? Whatever shoots out and is not going to turn around, it's not going to come back. It's going to unleash a series of events that are irreversible. It's like you're going to take aim at something in this world and you're going to go for it. And when you have the Eight of Wands in your life, that spirit saying, hey, right now is a really good time to take aim at something and to pull the trigger and to launch yourself in a direction that, once you get started, it's not like you can just turn around from it. The Eight of Wands is the notifier that says you can do that. If that's a thing that you've been weighing, if that's a thing that you've been thinking about, if there's opportunities that have arisen, sometimes you just need to create a path of change in your life, and you need to feel authorization to really, take a leap of faith in some form or another. The Eight of Wands will come in and say, yes, you can do that right now. And be careful. I mean this sincerely. Be very, very careful, because while you do have direct authorization to engage in an irreversible action, it could aid you greatly if your aim is true. Like if you really know how to take the shot and you shoot it in the right direction, you'll get there faster than you ever could. I mean, well, there's a couple people that go faster. Maybe the Chariot. Chariot goes pretty fast. I'd say Knight of Wands goes pretty fast, but he won't care about the destination. Anyway, getting back to the topic. Sorry. Anyway, getting back to the topic, you've got an Eight of Wands, and so just be careful what you wish for, because this will show up in people's life and they'll start to initiate a process, and it's like you'll unleash a series of events, and sometimes it's like throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. Other times it's a time in your life where you finally shoot for what you're truly worth and you actually get it. And so it's really up to you. I would just say be very careful right now not to do a thing that you've probably heard this statement before. Somebody out there has heard this: don't aim too low and hit, because you could do that with this could come into your life and you could be like, really, I gotta, okay, so what you're telling me is that if I'm willing to take a big chance right now and really throw myself at something to really launch toward it, that you're telling me it can happen way faster than it's ever happened before. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. It's exactly what could happen. But if you aim at something that's just not worthy of your time, dedication, energy, or your investment, you'll also get that, and then you'll be stuck with it. Not forever, but just you'll have to see through a process with something. You'll get there and be like, oh yeah, this actually kind of sucks. I didn't really want this. I could have got that. I should have gone for that one, but instead I went for this one. Okay. Well, we're here now. You know what I mean? You could have those type of experiences, or you could go farther than you ever have. But anyway, Eight of Wands is a good omen for expansion. Just be mindful of what you're aiming for. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Thanks, Crystal.
So yeah, and the next one is Kiki Erica. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm interested in checking out Crystal's. I want her to follow me on Instagram. I'd like to follow her, because like I don't know what her Instagram thing is. You know what I mean? Like I'd like to follow her restaurant and stuff. That's cool.
Totally. If you could, we can't do links in the chat, but anyway, I was gonna say I wish we could post your Instagram.
So yeah, and might get her some business too. If she wants to post it, Crystal, or if you want to post your link.
I don't think it'll let you. It doesn't let people do links unless you're the account person. You know what I mean? Like you can try to put it, but it'll block it. But anyway, there you go. At the elbow. There you go. She got it.
Elbow room. I'm gonna follow her now. Yeah. Okay. Then
I hope it helps. Maybe you'll get like one person. They'll come in and order a sausage roll, and you'll be like, she knows. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. You'll be like, could it be? It'll be a man from the NSA. Anyway, I'll stop there. Who else do we
got? This is so funny. We got Kiki Erica, and she says just wondering if there's anything about my moving situation. Will it work out for me? Or she said whatever comes up.
Okay. That's a good question. I hope it does. Before I pull cards on this, I will ask, and not that you need to answer it here, maybe it's just a thing like a checklist in your mind. It would affect actually the parameters of a reading, but wouldn't necessarily be something we would discuss in this now moment. But do you already know where you're moving? Is it one of those things where you have a place chosen or you have an area chosen, or are you at the stage where you just know you have to move? And you're like, damn, I'm going to have to move. Here we go. Now it's real. That's important just to sort of further refine the information that you get. Not that you need to answer here. You're just going to take that into consideration when you hear what shows up, because that a lot of times the stage that we're in, or I guess we just call it, like, a lot of readings are context sensitive in terms of where we are within a process. And I guess I'm just a person that likes to try to make it specific, because you guys will see this so many times. You'll see so many readers and they come in and you're like, you ask them a question and then, they're right about to answer. And they're like, but you know what? I feel that there's three spirits alongside you right now. And they have a message, and the message is you're ascending. Or, it's just, it goes into some what we call platitudes or vagaries, or just like this randomness. So I always try to, I try to be more specific in terms of answering the question. But anyway, that's why I try to get like, well, where are you in the process? But here we go. I've already overtalked it. Here we go. Yeah, what does she need to know about her moving situation? Taking a slow breath. Here we go. We'll see it together. Kiki, Erica, 3, 2, 1, and moving. Okay. Whoa. All right. This is a good sign. Hello, you've received here's the thing. Without more specific info, we're left with some generalities here, which I think is okay. It is fine. You received the Ace of Pentacles, which in the world of multidimensional tarot is a literal timeline shift opportunity. How does that translate into the real world? It's an opportunity to change everything about what it is you're manifesting right now. And so, especially in a time in which you might be moving, let's say, and an Ace of Pentacles comes in, I would say in generality, it's a very good omen for whatever it is you're manifesting, provided you're very mindful of your cycles of money, cycles of possessions, cycles of self-worth, just the way that you manifest stuff in your life. Those are all elements that correspond with pentacles. There's a lot of other things that correspond with pentacles, but in a moving situation, those are some of the things you would look at. But here's the whole idea behind it. Here's how you change a timeline with it. Some of you guys already know this story, but when the aces come in, whatever situation you're involved in right now, like let's say perhaps if you were still looking for a place, or you're kind of, putting that together in the early stages, the way you'll make it work is that you must do this much differently than you've ever done it before. Meaning that you need to look at your cycles of all the other times in which you had to suddenly move, or you knew like, okay, the time is now. And you know how usually if you've been in that situation before, there will be certain things that you will do, or certain people that you'll turn to, or certain areas that you'll look, or certain factors that you'll recognize. And those are the things with the aces that if you're mindful of your cyclical behaviors in a situation like this, where, we need to manifest a new place to live. I think it sounds like I saw your comment go by. We need to manifest a new place to live. And so it's just telling you that you must do it very, very differently. What some people call baffle the matrix. Go very far outside of your predetermined path of predictable behaviors. Play the game so differently that the world is forced to respond to you in a new way. If you're willing to do the housing search in a whole new manner, you can get something much, much better than you've ever had, which is ultimately what things like the Ace of Pentacles will lead you toward. It's like you'll change the ways in which you manifest things in this world, and suddenly you'll get a bigger, better, nicer version of something than you've ever had in your life. And it's like, whoa, how did I manifest this? Like you know how you'll see your friends sometimes and you're like, damn, how'd you get this house? And it's only this much a month, and wow, you have this room and this yard, or whatever. And they're like, I don't know. I just, they were able to manifest something by, in many cases, playing a game very differently. This is the energy that comes into your life that says play the game very differently, and you're going to manifest a new place to live in a very, very new way. Just be sure to be bold. Last thing I'll say is, when I say play the game differently, be careful, because you could play it very chaotically or very negatively. The aces don't guarantee positive timeline shift. Be mindful of that. You could do a crazy thing and experience a negative timeline shift as well. So it's kind of interchangeable. Not to add a weird edge on it, but just for the sake of full disclosure, it's like, be mindful, make positive, bold choices that you've never done before instead of chaotic ones. And I think you know what I'm talking about, Kiki, Erica. So you'll know how to translate that. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, I hope that resonates with you, Kiki, and thank you. And yeah, I was see. Oh, the next ones are super chats. So yeah, this is
Let's roll.
And this one's from
Hey, what's up?
Nat. Yeah. He says, "Hey Rob, my favorites are Liz Cross and Matt. Matt, do you have any special advice on manifestation for me? SP, my SP, is that
Specifically,
soul partner?
yeah. No, specifically, it's just probably broken up on your screen. Yeah. It's all good.
Of course, anything regarding more money and is appreciated. Thanks."
Totally. Let's pull a card for you. Absolutely. I'm going to take a slow breath in. Actually, it's like I can sometimes already feel it before like we get there, just based upon like, I'll just be real with you guys. It's like I'll look at the thumbnail and it's like a scene will play out. And in this case, the scene has to do with you kind of devoting yourself to certain pathways within the body that have the ability to dramatically increase your creative powers right now, and also your powers of manifestation, especially when it comes to things that you're passionate about. So if you're also passionate about, building more money or more income or more abundance right now, keyword being passionate, this is the time to learn about, to connect with, to work on the sacral chakra for you. Very, very specifically, it's what some people call the palace of creation, of fire, of passion, of destruction, of a number of forces within the body. We could also say, when a person has an opportunity to grow or activate sacral energy, that one of the behaviors you could engage in would be connecting with fire. Like if you have a fireplace, or if there's a place you can go where there's a bonfire, or even if you just begin the practice of candle gazing, staring into a candle and just allowing your mind to wander, to meditate while staring into the candle, that's another way to connect with the element of fire. I think doing so is going to aid you in building the energy needed to generate more income or abundance based upon your passions, which, as I understand, you're a musician. So it's almost like if you were able to really expand the sacral chakra specifically for yourself right now, it's like more resources come in terms of how to use your passion to get things that you want. Just very, very specifically, how would I use the passion energy in my body to get what I want? Sacral chakra. I could also say other channels. People that know will say, well, it's not just sacral chakra. Maybe that's a whole other conversation. But it's just, I think that's an area of opportunity for you. And just anything you can do to connect with fire. I know that'll sound weird and like, what? You're telling me if I just devote myself to connect and meditate upon the energy of fire, and to learn about my sacral chakra, and to also, check this out, allow yourself to be willful, allow yourself to get angry. Maybe you might have to tell a few people to fuck off. I'm not saying that in a flippant, silly way. I'm just saying, to be totally real, when you're embracing the energy of fire, things get intense. And it's like that's sort of a fuel that we need at certain stages to create change. And anyway, it just feels like you might be a little bit deficient in fire. You'll know in your own way if you've been feeling a little bit sort of dried out, maybe creatively, or if you feel yourself in a groove or a rut. Sometimes, if you keep repeating the same patterns over and over again, sacral chakra has a lot to do with patterning in one's life, usually relationship patterning, but like other stuff. Anyway, before I rant on and on, which could happen, let's pull you a card. Special advice on manifestation. He's going to connect with fire. He's going to work with his sacral chakra. I know I've mentioned this before, I think in another reading we did, but the more you can deprogram what you were taught about money by your parents or whoever raised you, especially when we get like close to, and I don't know how old you are now, but like the older you get, the more critical it gets in terms of being able to allow yourself to receive and to build wealth in this world, which some of you guys will notice. For some people, they just do it naturally, right?
Yeah.
They just do it and they're like, yeah, I don't know. And then I bought a house at age 50 or something, or 43 or whatever. And I'm like, damn. And then other people, it's like an energy source that they have to learn to live with. And just when we look at like how we were taught to live with the energy of abundance and money and the gathering and the receiving and the building and all of those things in our life, it goes back to one very, very, the most basic chakra that everyone talks about, but no one really ever seems to care that much about because it's so basic, right? Everyone's like, well, yeah, of course. You guys even know what it is in the chat. It's the root chakra. And so it's like when we have those problems in our life, it's like that's the thing you really want to. That's where the deprogramming phase comes in. Anyway, I'm talking way too much. Here we go. Here comes your card. For Nat J. And thanks for hanging out, everybody in the chat. Here we go. Nat Janoff. Creativity, abundance. In 3, 2, 1. Boom. Whoa, that's an unexpected character. It's Judgment. Check it out. What? Our old friend. Nat, you're going to be like, what? Wait, Judgment. Wait, hold on. I thought this was about abundance and creativity and manifestation. And then you gave me Judgment. So you'll be like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? This is it is kind of a different message than one would expect. Judgment is a forced transformation. It's a stage in your life where an element of the self must come to pass. We go through ego deaths. We transform based upon our conditions and our choices. And at certain stages of the life, it's a thing that you're forced to do. So when you look at, how can I change my powers and abilities to manifest the things that I want in this life? Judgment tells us, number one, that you're already in a situation in which whatever you're willing to let go of right now in terms of beliefs, even possessions, even things that you hold dear to your heart, Judgment says whatever you're clinging to are often the things that are keeping you stuck in the stage that you're in right now. And if you truly want to experience a transformation, which is going to happen whether you want it or not, that's the good and the bad news, you have to be willing to let go of the things that you cling to that bring you comfort. Judgment ultimately causes an ego death and a realignment in people's life. That's why it looks like a phoenix moment here, right? We have a woman rising from the ashes. And so the other thing you can do is ask yourself, where in my life have I had to reinvent or completely recreate myself? Have I been through cycles of recreation? How did it go for me in the past? What behaviors, outlooks, or thought forms am I holding on to that keep me in the state that I'm in right now? Because Judgment also says that things will need to go. And so maybe I already said this because I say this one a lot, but the whole point is that whatever you're willing to get rid of right now, Spirit's going to bring you a new version of it, which could be really good, right? It could be really good if you want renewal, but it could also be kind of chaotic if, we just get new problems and new difficulties. And a judgment cycle that we have a hard time with could be one where it's like, yeah, we addressed a few issues in our life and suddenly we get way more money. And then, it's like that old saying, more money, more problems. You know what I mean? And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm making $120,000 a year, but damn, I have to pay this and I have to pay that. And oh my God, it's almost like it was easier when I was getting only 30. It was almost like I had way less to worry about. You know what I mean? Those kind of things could happen in a judgment cycle. And that's that ultimately, and sorry to go on, but ultimately it teaches you how and what to let go of in your life by having it be forcefully taken from you. And then it forces you to rebuild yourself in a very particular way so that you can build resilience and sort of become a new character. And so anyway, it's a complex energy. I know it's just one card on a YouTube live stream, so apply emphasis where you need to, but
I love that. I love that for Nat. And hang in there, Nat. You're always, and thank you for always donating, Nat. He donated last night during the Liz Cross show, too. So thanks, Nat. You're awesome, man. Like, I hope you hang in there, dude.
It helps, my friend.
And guys, for everybody, we said this last night for everybody. Nat has his own YouTube channel. You can put your YouTube channel in the chat, Nat. He's a jazz musician in New York City. He's really good, too. He's supposedly really good. Like,
I never good enough to play jazz. I wish I was.
I forgot to give a call tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
If we get any callers, I promise you we can argue if you want. We'll have one of those arguments. And then all of a sudden Rob will say, caller, turn down your radio. And it'll be like we're doing like an Art Bell role play.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Anyway, who else do we have?
We got one more donation. We didn't get a lot of donations tonight, but that's okay. It's just from Danny Hawk. She says, "Bah humbug, everybody."
Okay, nice. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's do a reading for Danny Hawk. Also, if anyone has any questions in the chat, I saw a couple go by. Please copy and paste them, return them down to the bottom of the chat so I can find them easily. Especially if it has anything to do with psychic activation or any of the other kind of reading based stuff that I've talked about here today. A lot of you guys already know this, but this work is the only thing I do. So the more we can clarify that for you or just help with any questions that you have regarding those things, the better. So just let me know.
We've only been going like an hour and 35 minutes. We'll have time after this. So if anybody else wants to, right? Right. Do you want to go about 2 hours usually?
I have plenty of time. I'm not in a hurry. I didn't even look at the time. Maybe that's a good thing.
I have the UFC fights going on my phone. So there's a paper. There's the last pay-per-view of the year's going on. So I got the UFC on my phone.
Okay, cool.
But so I'll be good. I can hang all night.
No, it's all good. We'll do a couple more. We'll answer some questions and then we'll allow the AI algorithm to let us know. But anyway, this is for Danny Hawk. Here we go. Sorry,
I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah, no worries. We just hijacked Rob's show, everybody. I hired somebody to change all his passwords, so by the time he gets back, he'll have lost total access to his StreamYard, and we're just going to take over the stream. So that said, in the meantime, we'll do a reading for Danny Hawk. And like I said before, you'll hear this about 10 seconds afterward, but Danny will just take a slow breath together in 3, 2, 1, breathe in. And you can just hold it for a moment and let it out. Once again, a very tried and true method for learning to connect with other people's energy. In the beginning, when you do that sort of breathing and pulling people's breath in thing, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of layers that you have to go through. Like there's literal layers of the third eye that some people would call them like lenses. One of the ways you can imagine them is sort of like petals on the flower. But as you start to open up those channels within the self and you continue to practice it, what you notice is that the type of data or the images or the thought forms or the messages that show up when you take that breath in change over time, which is why we always say from the perspective of intuitive development, the first skill that we have to develop is knowledge of self above all else. Absolutely above anything out there. You have to be able to know, like, who am I? And, how do I actually feel? What is my current condition? And so once you get that, and it's a work in progress, no one has it perfectly. But once you get that, it allows you to then go, okay, well, that's me. If that's me, then all this other data that came in many cases, is of that other person. Or honestly, I'll be real with you, in times in which we do these on YouTube live streams or even on Patreon, because I do this monthly on Patreon, and you will notice when there's a lot of people there, it's like, whoa, a lot of data comes in, which is why sometimes you guys will notice people, I'll sort of lean into energetic anatomy, or like how we were just talking with Nat about the sacral chakra. Sometimes it's like there's an element of a person's energy body that's just very primed, and I shouldn't say the word primed, it's just very present. You know what I mean? It's sort of like buzzing, in a sense. And those are things that are pretty easy to kind of grab onto. So that's kind of a lot of what I'm doing in certain cases. It's like we're sort of grabbing onto the most palpable vibration, I would say, in a certain way, which is, anyway, just to give you guys some background. I was doing a little bit of intuitive development talk while you were in the bathroom. But anyway, here we go. Danny Hawk, here it comes. Here's a card for you. 3, 2, 1, and whoa, hello. It's somebody that everyone likes to see. Seriously, though, literally somebody that everyone likes to see. We haven't seen him in a while. It is the Chariot. What happens when the Chariot comes into your life, you guys? Some of you guys already know this, okay? When the Chariot comes into your life, Spirit has granted you a very fast ticket to some form of manifestation or completion, or we could say creation, or even getting from, just old fashioned point A to point B. You know what I mean? You got to get something done in this world, and you want it to go successfully, and you want to be fulfilled in the process in which you're doing it, like positive manifestation, usually positive. You want a chariot. It's funny because somebody had an 8 of Wands earlier, and I was like, that's where you throw everything out there, and it happens so fast, and it could happen really quickly, and you might not be ready for what happens. The Chariot has similar dynamics. For most people, it's a very powerful omen of manifestation and ability to create, but we always have to look deeper at it, and we have to bring into mind certain things in our life. Number one, you really got to ask yourself, how in control are you right now? How in control of your thoughts, of your heart, of your actions, of your life in general are you in this moment? Not to say that you have to be in total control. It's just a thing that you look at. Why do we say that? Look at the Chariot. Who's driving? He's just playing a harp. So we really have to look at who's actually driving our vehicle right now, who's in control of our life, who's calling the shots. That's sort of the first requirement with Chariot energy, is that you have to be willing to take supreme control. You got to be willing to take the reins, quote unquote, in a certain area of your life. And what's hard about it is you can see, hopefully on the screen, hopefully it's big enough for you to see it. No one else can fit in that Chariot with you. This is you and you alone. So this is a time for you to be very controlling. This is a time for you to call the shots. You might make demands in a certain way. You're going to be telling the world where you want to go and when, not necessarily why. It's just like the fastest car in the universe. So you really got to be comfortable with directing yourself. And then you also got to look at those horses. Some of you guys have heard this story before, but you got to look at the horses, and you look at them and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Are they even going in the same direction? I know that's almost too basic, right? But wait, are they? Because I don't know. Looks like they're both facing in different directions. So we also have to ask ourselves, well, is there an issue of alignment in my physical world? Is my world right now physically set up to allow room for the thing that I'm seeking, or that which I wish to manifest, that which I need, even? Because sometimes it's just one of those things that's as simple as, I really need to make more money in this life. How will I do it? And the Chariot's like, well, we'll get you there real quickly. But you really have to look at, like, is your life aligned for it? Meaning, is there a channel through which Spirit can bring the thing to you that you need? Because obviously, if the door's not open, you know what I mean, they're not going to be able to, they can't give you anything. So you got to check your physical alignment. So this is a time to be very mindful of what it is that you're manifesting. the element of control that you have over your personal path, and to really kind of get ducks in the row in terms of your physical day-to-day life. Because if you do that, you could create something amazing right now. And I know that might sound kind of fortune tellery, sort of like, honey, you're going to manifest $1 million. I'm not saying it like that. It could be a very simple thing in your life. It could be a thing that you've been having a hard time trying to obtain, and it's not even a big deal to other people. Sometimes it's relationship. Sometimes it's a better job. Sometimes, I don't know, it could even be health stuff. It could be anything. The chariot gets you there faster than anybody in the world of tarot, but you have to be in total control. So anyway, I'm way overdoing your chariot, but I will. I will overdo it. So I hope it helps, Danny Hawk. This is a season for control and manifestation. We'll stop there. Boom. Oh, I think you're muted, Rob. If you were saying anything.
We had one more from Colleen. Curious call, Colleen, and she. But I told her to. Because I messaged her. I told her to put her name in the chat, but I don't know if she got my message. Because I don't see it anywhere.
It's all good. It's all good. We can just call her out. I'm gonna do an awkward thing. Get ready, you guys. I'm gonna take allergy medicine on camera. Ready? Look. There we go. I just couldn't breathe through my nose right now. A lot of people know I get like weirdly congested when I do readings. It's just like a weirdest thing. So I always bring this little. I've been bringing it now. Every time.
Do you think it's like something to do with like your? I don't know. Like your. What do you think?
Honestly, it's been happening for so long. There's so many live streams where, like, in the midst of it, people know this. People that have been watching my channel will know. It's like there's like a weird congestion that occurs. Over the years, I've kind of equated it to a lot of energy movement within the third eye, and like just, like, because this is the part of me that's present for the world. It's like that's the part that seems to absorb the energy. And I don't know if that's too simple of a breakdown, but I've just noticed I get weirdly congested. So nowadays I'll sort of, inhale a weird herbal thing, which luckily it's a herbal one. I'm grateful for that. But anyway, here we go. So who is this for? Did you say Colleen?
Yeah, Curious Colleen 81.
Totally. Okay. Do we have a question, or is this just a general?
It was a. Oh wait, I think here she is. There she is. You put her. This is a.
Okay, cool. Hey, what's happening? Okay, cool. Here we go. We're gonna shuffle for a moment, and because we don't have a specific question, we'll do a new experiment, Colleen. As I'm shuffling the cards, we're gonna have a very brief moment of silence, which isn't always good on live streams like this. We're going to have a moment of silence, and you're just going to put your intentions and your questions out there. So it's like whatever it is that you've been wondering or holding on to. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, silence. Imagine the Jeopardy theme playing, it's like doom, 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 doom. You know what I mean? The Jeopardy theme's playing. You're placing your energy and intention out there. Okay, here we go. For curious, sorry. It's easier if I wear these. Sorry, you guys. Curiously 81. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Whoa, look at this guy. It's Mr. Death. Everybody loves this card. Well, maybe not love it. It's like the number one freak out card. People see death and they're like, oh God, wait, we were hoping for good news, and you gave me this sort of scary character, right? When everyone sees it, they all get their own idea. What does death mean in the world of tarot? First off, it has very little to do with physical death. I mean, there's certain situations where that certainly applies, but it's really not about, anything really dying. It's about cycles and closure and seasons ending and chapters coming to completion. And, there's a lot of inevitability that comes with it. There's an unavoidableness that comes with it. And so when this shows up, let's say in a moment like this, when you're just getting a 1-card reading over YouTube, First off, never get freaked out when you see this card. He's a benevolent friend. He aids you in letting go of many things that often perplex us and weigh us down in this human journey. He also signals closure of sometimes good things as well. Seasons will come to pass and we'll go into a new cycle of experience. But when death comes into your readings, it's time to ask yourself, what am I letting go of right now? Now, I guess we're at the end of the year, right? So you've probably got a few things. And so you ask yourself, what have I accumulated over the year that I'm letting go of? What is leaving my life right now? What am I ridding? What am I absolutely removing from my life right now? What am I closing the door on right now and locking it and throwing away the key? What transitions? Sometimes you'll force them, right? You know what I mean? Death comes in many different ways. You know what I mean? Sometimes you see it coming and you can prepare for it. Other times, we just get announced that, a chapter of closure is coming. And so to me, it's very, very useful because it's going to allow you to restart certain things. Ultimately, I would say if people are looking for a really basic way to apply death in your readings from an early stage reading perspective, when you're just starting to do tarot, look at death as endings and beginnings. Some people are going to get a lot of feelings about it, right? Just like when someone dies, you might be in mourning and every now and then, someone will die and you're like, yes, I knew it. You know what I mean? God forbid. But you know what I mean? It's like, that's also a possible thing. It can be very good for you as well. And so I think death is a good character to have. There's so many worse people. Oh my Lord. You know who's way worse than death? 10 of Swords. I would go so far as to say 10 of Swords is a worse outcome than death is usually ever going to be in the world of tarot. We could also say Tower maybe, but Tower is really really for people that know and use and connect with Tower, you'll realize it's less about your demise and more about being notified of your demise and spirit giving you options to alter your course or rebuild something. So, even the Tower is not really a death sentence. I would say 10 of Swords is a very bad time. 5 of Swords could be a horrible time that can't even tell where it's coming from. Doesn't have to be. 8 of Swords. A lot of Swords characters take a very severe kind of, turn in people's life. But anyway, that's probably a conversation for later. Anyway, we'll stop there. I hope that helps, Curious. Oh, no, it's all good. Curiously 81. I hope it helps you.
That was amazing. That was an amazing reading, man. That was I see what she said. She said grand evening. She said she sees the Tower card as more scary, she says.
Yeah, I would me personally, like receiving a Tower card in a reading would prompt me to look more deeply at my life and the things that I'm trying to build right now, versus the Death card will sort of bring you relief. And I think that's one thing that you can look at reliably when death shows itself in maybe a more profound way. You know what I mean? Once again, we're doing one card readings over YouTube, and I know that we're part of a community right now that's just trained itself to believe that you can somehow activate abilities and end all your abundance problems by donating on YouTube. And maybe you can, because we're living in a world where everything's possible. But for most of us, what we're doing on these live streams is really just sampling and experiencing and observing sort of what I would call momentary pieces of energy, because tomorrow, if we were to pull cards for you, you will have a very different story. And in most cases, it's going to be based on the immediacy of the moment. But anyway, I always like to add that in there, because sometimes you will get profound truth. But the reality is, and maybe this is a rant that I don't need to open up right now, but there is absolutely no shortcut to healing. There is absolutely no human-based shortcut that says you can just suddenly, boom, and all of a sudden I'm traveling through time. I mean, all those things are possible, but it comes with an investment of energy and learning and applying oneself, at least in some form. So I always say be very skeptical of people that will say stuff like that. Not to say they're not doing good work. It's just I think part of my mission is that I need to speak critically about such things at times, because I think for me, ultimately, the mission is about building discernment above all else. And I
Yeah.
think that those situations are ripe for like building discernment of what's real and what's not. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll shut up now. Do we have anyone else?
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
did. We got a fan. Someone. Oh, she comes on here and does tarot. She's someone who learned from you, Joanna LeBlanc.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's happening? Hey, Joanna.
And she said
Totally. We were just talking the other day.
Yeah.
We can do a card for hell yeah, we can do a card for love. I feel you, man. I feel you. I'm grateful that's like one of the only areas of my life where I'm like, I'm okay in that area. I'm not okay in a bunch of other areas. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you look at it and you're like, okay, at least I do. All right. I have, you know what I mean? It's like everyone has their own set of like perplexing situations. You know what I mean? Mine usually revolves around money and purpose and self-hatred. For other people, it'll be relationships, you know, or maybe it's my relationship with myself. A smart person will hear that and go, "Oh, mm-hmm." Anyway, sorry. Here we go. This is for the love life of Joanna LeBlanc. Whoa, that could actually be like a Saturday afternoon Hallmark movie. No, for real, right? No, dude, think about it. Like a mid 90s Hallmark special. Like you remember those? They would
Yeah.
come on like on Saturday afternoons. You know, oh no, actually that could be legendary. Anyway, here we go.
Dude, that would be yeah.
So it would be cool. I want to make a reality TV show of our spiritual, you know, quote unquote community. You know what I mean? Like even this show could be like part of like the reality show where, you know what I mean? It's like everyone, you know, gets to see like the private lives of some of these people, and then we see the public life, you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit more like a mockumentary.
Well, yeah, that'd be yeah.
But then nobody will want to be in it, right?
I know I wouldn't.
I would. I'll do it. I think like I think like being mocked and made fun of like that is some of the highest form of flattery. Kind of like when you get made fun of on a show like Family Guy, you know what I mean, or one of those shows where they just destroy people. It's like to me that's like that's like the dude. That's how you know you're part of like the cultural zeitgeist. Yeah. But anyway, okay, I'll stop. Here we go. Joanna LeBlanc, The World of Love. What shall we know? What needs to be seen? At the end of 2025, I should shuffle again, right? Joanna knows this. Sorry, I'm not stalling. I'm just trying to randomize the energy. Just so we can get more truth and more relevancy. It's important. For those of you guys that are learning to read cards out there and you watch readers on other shows, notice how often they shuffle. You'll trip out, man. You'll be like, wait, you're not even randomizing the energy. I feel like that's critical. If you're going to be doing intuitive readings, you need to continue to randomize the energy that you have so that spirit can speak through you in an organic way. Otherwise, a lot of the cards that you pull will keep coming back. And I say that as a person who pulls cards that also do keep coming back all the time. There's lots of reasons why cards come back. Sometimes it's because the message repeats, which is also very common. But here we go. Joanna LeBlanc. Finally. 3, 2, 1. What's going on in the world of love? Whoa, we asked about love, and we got a Knight of Cups. Well. Okay. So the first question I have for you. Well, I was going to make a joke. I'll save it for later. But anyway, I don't have a question for you. When the Knight of Cups enters your readings, you're being given an opportunity to dive deeper into something than you've ever gone before. This is an emotional being on an emotional journey. And when we ask about it in conjunction with a process or an experience in our life, it tells us the certain quantity or the energy that's at play that sometimes will need to be worked with or healed or just noticed in some way. And the Knight of Cups is pure emotional energy in motion. And so when it happens, we have to look at the areas of our life in which we've just been skimming the surface. So if you're in a relationship, you'll ask yourself, what do we keep, just skimming over the surface of? What am I not addressing? I'm not always saying there's some dark, crazy thing. Although if you look at the Knight of Cups, you'll notice the sea is rather stormy underneath them. There's a lot of activity. The waves might be crashing in one's life. And so you really have to look at like, well, what am I staying too far on the surface of in my relationship? Or if you're looking for a relationship, in my search for new love, or just maybe more togetherness, if you're even in a relationship, you'll say, what am I skimming the surface of? Where do I need to go deeper? And likewise, from the flip side, you might also say, where am I going too deep? What am I reading into too much? Because here's the thing, Knight of Cups, he's very likely to read into people's emotions. He's very likely to drown in his own emotions. He's very likely to have expectations and ideas about how people feel, even though he's really good at reading people in terms of their emotions. Honestly, he's one of the best people at it. You'll feel other people's emotions from literally like across the screen, like we are here. You'll be like, oh, I know you're going through something. I know you. You'll feel it. Knight of Cups has that, right? But then they also got to look at like, well, how much am I holding of other people's? How much have I claimed from other people? What am I stewing around in that cup that I keep holding and drinking from over and over and over again? It's not always a bad thing. It's the world and the realm of emotions. So if we say, well, is there a thing I need to heal so I can experience this better or more deeply? We would say, well, yeah, we'd look at our emotions. We'd look at what we're skimming over, what we're ignoring. We'd look at where we're diving too deeply, where we're reading into things, where our expectations have gone too great. And I mean, sometimes you'll willingly overlook things. That is honestly, that's one thing about a Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is a character who will willingly overlook things in their life to keep the peace in certain ways. Similar, but not exactly like that little dog that's in the room where everything's burning. And I used to have him sitting right here, actually. And they're like, this is fine. And it's like everything's burning, except you have the version of it where everything's not burning. There's a bunch of emotion and it's almost like water. And it's like, whoa, this is fine. We should probably cry together. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I'm not trying to make it a joke. I'm just saying, like, these are situations that are ripe for the release of emotions that we've been holding on behalf of others, because Knight of Cups will do that. He'll definitely do it. So anyway, I probably gave you too much, or I went on a lot about randomness, but he's not a bad guy. I would say, just from another perspective, let's say if you keep getting a Knight of Cups and you wonder, like, is the idea that I've been having about how a person is feeling true? That's a good confirmation card, because Knight of Cups can look right under the surface of something. And if they know themselves well, you will feel exactly what another person's feeling. It's very good. The problem is, I'll shut up after this, you might drown in it. That's the problem. If you don't watch out, it'll overtake you. You know what I mean? King of Cups will get isolated by it. Knight of Cups will drown in it. Queen of Cups will sit in the background and be quiet and just look at it and go, well. You know what I mean? It gets weird. Page of Cups, sorry to go on a tarot rant, everyone. Page of Cups will become instantly overwhelmed by it and bounce. You know what I mean? They'll take off. Page of Cups will leave town and, they'll go to the ocean. And anyway, I way overdid your reading. I'm sorry. I'll stop now. There we go.
That was an amazing reading, man. That went deep. Yeah, that was good. Let me see here. Should we do one more?
Yeah, we could do more. I'm in, man. Whatever you need. We got. We could do.
I think we have one more, and this is Linda Goidel, and she said she didn't know we asked for a card.
Yeah, totally. Linda Goidel. Okay, totally. I see your comment in the chat. She says, "I'd like to ask for one. I'm kind of old, been through a lot." You're in the right place. Thank you. I feel really old too, and I'm only 40. I'll be 48 next week. I feel really old. So you're probably like, that's nothing. You're a kid to me. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. I have had a weird tendency. One of the things that I learned in 2025 is I would say the number one age group of clientele for me, it used to be like 20s and 30s. It is now almost exclusively people who are like 40 and up. And I would even say there's a lot of people in their 60s and 70s now. And it's been a thing that I've been talking about with Honora in the background, where I'm like, it seems like this age group of people, and I'm not placing you in that age group, Linda. You might be anywhere. I'm not defining your
You
age.
said she's 77 next month.
Oh, there you go. Boom, boom. So you came to the right place. I don't know why, but that has been the number one age group I've worked with in 2025. And I've often been thinking it signals that I will have some kind of a change at that stage for me. You know what I mean? Because I think that's one of the things that comes with doing professional intuitive work. Not that you become some all-knowing psychic, because that's really just a really big myth. It's a tool that you pick up and use over and over again. You don't get any special access into anything, but you will. Well, some people would argue that, but you will learn patterns. You will become an absolute expert at pattern recognition in a variety of forms, in all kinds of ways. And it's just one of those things where, as I've looked at it, and I see that pattern emerging, I'm like, I wonder if, what does that mean for my own timeline? But anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming through. Sorry to overtalk this. Let's pull a card for Linda Goidel. Thanks for hanging out. Here we go. As everyone's waiting for me to pull this card, you can check if you hit the like button recently. So please hit the like button. And here we go. Linda Goidel. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Whoa. Hello. Hello. It's a 2 of Wands. Wow, this is a fun message. Linda Goidel, hello. Okay, so I'm just going to go right into it. 2 of Wands is a very, very curious stage in a person's life, and I don't mean in a bad way, not by the slightest. First off, one thing you should know, every 2, for those of you guys that are learning tarot, every time you see a 2 in the world of tarot, well, that's a crossroads moment of some form or another, you know what I mean? And the 2 of Wands is a crossroads moment in your life in which you need to know one very, very important thing. You've been given complete control. And, maybe not over everything in your world, maybe just over yourself and your mindset and your path and, your day-to-day world. And here's the thing, for some people, that's one of the most powerful stages of your human journey, because it can be one of the first times or one of several times in your life where you begin to create a new relationship with power, which for some people is scary, right? It can feel negative, where you're like, power and control. I don't know. I don't know, because we see a lot of negative versions of it, right, in our world currently. 2 of Wands is spirit notifying you you've been given full control over your physical timeline right now. They've put the world in your hand, and they've said, Linda, you're at the stage of your life where you're the one that's calling the shots now, and nothing's going to happen unless you initiate it. Which goes back to that old saying, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. The good news is anything you're willing to initiate at this stage of your journey is going to go very well for you. But the bad news is this is not a time for waiting. If you're waiting around for other people to tell you what to do, where to go, how to live your life, not that you would do such a thing, but just in case that's a factor for you, the 2 of Wands says you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. Because 2 of Wands is the stage where they're like, and so for some people, this sounds frightening, but it's actually meant to liberate you. It's the stage where they say, it's up to you now. It's your choice. It's your time. Nothing happens unless you say go, unless you initiate it. And if you're willing to do so, things can go very, very differently for you, especially if there's things that you have not yet experienced in your life. Things that you wish you had a second chance at, things that you want to kind of bring in, elements of energy, old experiences. They might not show up in the same way, but the 2 of Wands is spirit saying, well, look, we gave you the world. What is it that you want? Where do you want to go? What's your destination? Like I said, a lot of people lie in waiting with the Two of Wands. They can stay in waiting for the rest of their lives, or they can build a new relationship with power and control. And then once you've built that relationship with power and control, use it. Hopefully in a good way, right? You know what I mean? You could use it in a negative way, but really that's ultimately what it is. Spirit's teaching you to use your power and your control in a new way, maybe even to gain new elements of power and control. But I'll stop there. I feel like I've been doing a lot of ranting tonight.
No,
So
this was good, man. This was amazing. This was these are really good. You were deep, dude. You went really deep on these. Like I was like, holy shit. Yeah.
sorry, I think I'd probably go on too long. So but
well, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you? And thanks, man. This was awesome.
absolutely. As always, you guys can find me at rememberyourmission.com. You can book a private reading with myself or my wife, Honora, who's secretly way better at a lot of these things. She just doesn't use tarot. And then also you can join us on Patreon. We do a monthly group where we do readings like this, and every single person that comes to the Patreon group gets a reading. Everybody gets one. It's only $10. We've been doing it every month for 5 years now. We're doing it, I think, around the 20th of this month. We're doing our Patreon meeting. So you can join us there if you want to be guaranteed to get a reading. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You could also subscribe to me on YouTube over also at Remember Your Mission, which, you know, it'll get better over time. I'm locked in a shitty algorithm for the moment, but I'm optimistic about that shifting in the new year. I think we have to choose to be so. But yeah, thank you for hanging out, everybody. I really appreciate it. I know there was some other questions and people in the chat who we didn't get to readings for. We'll come back. I know I have a feeling maybe we'll come back before the end of the year, if that's all right, Rob.
Yeah. I was going to say we can do a show before Christmas if you want.
Yeah. We will come back before the end of the year, around Christmas, and we'll do another one. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.